Do you think the picture on succession has changed now, or people's attitudes, or is it still very much a taboo subject?
It's still a taboo subject, definitely, but I think there are changes coming along now. People are being a little bit more open about it. The farming press is sort of covering it a bit more now, which is good. But yeah, it's still a taboo subject out there. The other thing I suppose that's changed now as well is there's a lot more of an acceptance of other routes into farming, like share farming and joint ventures and that type of thing as well. So that's sort of changed the landscape of it as well.
And what can young farmers do to encourage more people to at least start considering succession and thinking more about the subject?
I think they've got to start talking to each other about it. We've got to the stage now where people are running big businesses now. These they say, oh, these are family farms and all this, and it's a lifestyle thing and all that. That is to a certain extent, but these are businesses now. And you have to start thinking about good governance of business. And part of good governance is having a succession plan. It's part of the business plan. And if you're going into a bank now to borrow money, they're going to want a sort of security over the next 30 years or so. Well, they're going to need to know that there's a succession plan in place. And so it's part of a really good business idea now to be able to have that succession plan there and talked about. Because a lot of farmers don't have pensions, and going into the future, who knows what the sort of national pension is going to be. So we need to think about how mum and dad are going to be looked after. And there's a big issue at the moment as well, and that is about who owns the assets. Because if mum and dad need to go into nursing care, then the assets can be taken to pay for the nursing care. So you have to be planning who owns the assets at certain stages,
There was one story I'd heard of, somebody had fallen ill with dementia, and they were actually in a position where they had the farm and the assets, but that they weren't deemed mentally fit to be able to decide what to do with them. So because there was no plan in place beforehand. Yeah,
and so what I suggest to a lot of people now, and they're taking on board that, is that as soon as somebody becomes a partner, you have power of attorney for them. So that if something happens, and it's not just dementia or anything like that, it could be somebody falls off a motorbike or has an accident or has a stroke, and they can't be, somebody needs to sign for them. And so I'm saying to people now, right, as soon as somebody becomes a partner, you have power of attorney for them, just in case.